Hi guys, what is going on? Jack from Minifigs, and today I'm going to be ranking the top 10 LEGO Star Wars minifigures of all time. Now obviously this is just my opinion, and whether you agree with me or not on this top 10 list, I'm sure you will agree that these are some of the best LEGO Star Wars minifigures that you can buy. And just before we get into it, if you could do me a big favour and hit that like and subscribe button, then you'll be doing me a real favour. Okay guys, so moving into our top 10 list, and in 10th place we have Din Djarin from the UCS Razor Crest set. And LEGO really knocked it out of the park with this minifigure. It's definitely the best Din Djarin minifigure, or at least in my opinion, that LEGO have ever made. And it's up there with some of the best LEGO Mandalorian minifigures ever made. And for some reason, LEGO tend to knock it out of the park with just about all of their Mandalorian minifigures. So for this Din Djarin minifigure to be almost at the top of that list, that really is saying something. And obviously there's so much to like about this minifigure. The printing on the helmet has been upgraded from previous versions. You've also got fantastic printing on the chest and the legs, but what really puts this minifigure a cut above a lot of the other Mandalorian minifigures, and above a lot of other Star Wars minifigures, is the fact that it's got really detailed arm printing. And when you put all that together, it makes, in my opinion, one of the best LEGO Star Wars minifigures ever made. Moving on now to 9th place, we have Queen Amidala. Now I'm sure just about everyone watching this video would have expected to see this minifigure on this list somewhere down the line. How could you not put this fantastic minifigure on this list? Everything from the headpiece to that amazing dress piece, which has been uniquely moulded just for this minifigure. And it just looks so grand and spectacular, just like how her costume looked in The Phantom Menace. And to nail that costume takes some doing, but LEGO managed to find a way, and it looks awesome. Moving on now to 8th place, we have GREEDO. Now a lot of you may not know, but this was actually one of the very first LEGO Star Wars minifigures ever made. This came from a very old LEGO set 4501, the Mos Eisley Cantina. Yes, this minifigure really was so ahead of its time. You've got that fantastic alien head mould, which is still being used down to this day. Then you've got a rather simple, but still pretty good torso printing. And then you've even got arm printing, which still a lot of minifigures today don't even have. So for such an old minifigure, this GREEDO minifigure really was ahead of its time. And you can see just how good this minifigure is, because when you compare it to its newer versions, this still holds up so well. So yeah, for me, 8th place has to be GREEDO. Moving on now to 7th place, and this may be a bit of a controversial pick, but I just love it so much. It's the fairly new minifigure, VISLA. Honestly, this is one of my favourite LEGO minifigures that LEGO have made in recent years. Everything about it is absolutely phenomenal. You've got really detailed printing on the helmet, decent printing on the legs and the torso, and then you've got that amazing chest armour piece and detailed printing on the front of it. And then he also comes with a little backpack that you can use to store his blaster. And I just think this minifigure looks absolutely fantastic. And the resemblance to that of his TV show counterpart, which is what he's based off of, looks absolutely uncanny. I love the fact that they gave him that chest piece because obviously in the Mandalorian show itself, he seems to be a lot bigger than a lot of the other Mandalorians, and that's exactly how he looks in minifigure form, big and bulky. So not only does he look great, but it's also so accurate to what he looks like in the TV show. So yeah, for me, VISLA was always going to make it on this list. Moving on to 6th place, we have the ARC Trooper, or as LEGO like to call it, the Elite Clone Trooper. Although I'm not sure any serious Star Wars fan would ever call this minifigure by that name. I think just about everyone can agree that this is called an ARC Trooper. In canon, one of the elite, best of the clone army, and I absolutely adore this minifigure. Anyone who loves the prequels or even the Clone Wars will definitely want to get their hands on this minifigure. It just looks absolutely brilliant. The helmet looks great, the torso and leg printing is fantastic, but what really sets this minifigure out from most other clone minifigures is the cloth shoulder pads and waist cape. It looks absolutely brilliant, and it really gives him that elite look. And then obviously he comes with his two little dual blasters, which look so cool. And the great thing about this minifigure is that I do believe he is the cheapest minifigure on this whole list. You can pick him up for about $25, which to me doesn't seem very bad at all. Moving on now to 5th place, we have C-3PO from Luke's Landspeeder. Yes, another pretty new minifigure, and this one has just about as much detail as you could possibly ask for on a C-3PO minifigure. Just about every C-3PO minifigure that I've ever seen has great torso printing, but none have the level of detail on the legs and the arms as this minifigure. So as I've just said, you've got fantastic arm printing, and to be fair, there are other C-3PO minifigures that do have arm printing, so I can't give it too many points for that. But what makes this C-3PO minifigure stand out from all the rest, and even from a lot of other LEGO Star Wars minifigures, is that it's got printing on the legs, both on the front and the side, and it looks absolutely amazing. And another extra detail that LEGO decided to throw in was by giving just one of his legs the dual moulded printing, which makes this minifigure look even cooler and just gives it that extra bit of detail. So of all things considered, I just had to put this minifigure on this list because the amount of detail that LEGO put into this minifigure truly makes it worth the money. In at 4th place we have Captain Rex in his Phase 2 armour, and again I'm sure a lot of people would put this minifigure in their top 10 LEGO Star Wars minifigures of all time. This really is a fantastic minifigure, and definitely the best LEGO clone minifigure that LEGO has ever made. The torso printing is just phenomenal, as well as decent leg printing, and just like the ARC Trooper, you've even got that shoulder pad and that little waist cape. But the best thing that I like in particular about this minifigure has to be the torso printing. You can clearly see how it's worn and it looks battle damaged, and I think that just looks absolutely phenomenal. It can be a little bit tiring looking at the same clone minifigures just all in their brand new shiny armour. So I do really appreciate LEGO for putting in that extra little bit of detail and making him look really battle hardened. So yeah, Captain Rex Phase 2 is a top minifigure in my opinion. Moving on to 3rd place, we have Boba Fett from the UCS Slave 1. Many consider the Boba Fett from the UCS Slave 1 to be up there with some of the best LEGO minifigures ever made. Where do you start with this minifigure? Fantastic printing on the torso, the legs, highly detailed arm printing, you've got that awesome little cape piece that kind of goes over his shoulder, he comes with a jetpack, and great helmet printing. And again, what is so good about this minifigure is just how uncanny it is to the live action version. It has just about anything you'd ever want from a Boba Fett minifigure. And let's be honest, the Boba Fett character looks so cool, and there really is no wonder why he is so many Star Wars fans' favourite character, despite a lack of screen time in the original films. So there was no denying that a Boba Fett minifigure with this level of detail was ever going to miss out on this list. Moving on now to 2nd place, we have Darth Malgus. Maybe not the most well-known character in the Star Wars lore, seeing as Disney have never really decided what to do with the Legends characters, but whether you're the most hardcore Star Wars fan or not, you will no doubt be able to appreciate just how good this minifigure is. His face printing looks so menacing, but what puts this minifigure above most other minifigures is that fantastic chest armour piece. Definitely the best LEGO has ever made, and it certainly will be hard to top it. Just because this one is rather unique to this character, because the chest armour piece also serves as a little mask piece because it kind of covers his face. So for me, this menacing dark side character is up there with some of the best minifigures ever made, and almost my favourite Star Wars minifigure ever made. So without further ado, and I'm sure some of you would have seen this coming, in 1st place we have Boba Fett from the Cloud City set. This is the quintessential OG of LEGO Star Wars minifigures. And just like GREEDO in many ways, this is a really old minifigure and was just so ahead of its time. You've got great printing on the legs, the torso, the all-in-one helmet and jetpack piece looks really good. But what really puts this minifigure on another level again is the arm printing. So detailed and so ahead of its time, and there really is no wonder that people are willing to pay an absolute premium to get hold of this minifigure. This is one of the most expensive LEGO Star Wars minifigures that you can currently buy, and don't get me wrong, I certainly did not pick this minifigure because of his price. Whether he was £2,000 or £200 makes no difference to where I'd rank this minifigure. He is number one simply for the fact that he is the OG and an absolute beast of a minifigure. So anyway guys, what did you think to my top 10 LEGO Star Wars minifigures of all time? And what minifigures would you put in your top 10 LEGO Star Wars minifigures of all time? Please put it down in the comments and let me know, and I'll be sure to check every single one of them out. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.